Why is it a reptile? And you can open the speakers. So my way of imparting knowledge is like I believe in dialogues, not monologues. So if we can have at least responses on chat, that will help.
It's the language.
It's a language. So at
It's
least
a yep.
so at least I know now that what's your good name, sir?
Shahenshah.
So Shahenshah Saab is not sleeping. Rest, everyone I believe are sleeping. So that is why I started with the other Python. So the Python that we're going to deal is today a programming language, which everyone knows, and it is quite popular today in IT space. And why I'm actually trying to talk about Python is because of the tagline. If you look at the right side of my screen, there is a logo of MPowerUrge. So MPowerUrge is a company of my dear and near ones. And what I like about this company is its tagline that we bridge the gaps. So I know there is a lot of knowledge about Python, and I'm sure people who are attending this session are quite aware about Python. But what I'm trying to impart here or tell you is like I'm trying to fill those gaps if there are any, and I'll try to address all your confusions or questions that are there, if any. Okay. So the topic of our session is gate towards data science and AI ML. So see, Python becomes very important when these terms gets associated with it. If you guys are comfortable, I can speak in native language also, or otherwise, if you are okay, me imparting the knowledge in English only, I can go forward as you want. So maybe I'll try to mix up things. Okay.
English is fine, sir.
All right. So I was saying that when I associate Python with data science and AI and ML, it adds value to Python. And people start thinking a lot about Python while working on Python, while doing any training on Python. They think a lot about it. However, I tell you, I know I'm not an expert in Python in terms of programming, but then when I try to implement certain things, it is a matter of 10-20 lines of code. That's it. So that's the beauty of Python. So what exactly makes Python popular is because of this is what market tells you. This is the face which market gives you, this is the face which Google tells you, that Python helps you in artificial intelligence. It helps in quantum computing. It helps in web development, automation testing, blockchain, robotics, web scraping, ethical hacking, and so on. So now what happens? All these heavier terms actually makes us believe that Python is very difficult. Is it the case? Can anyone confirm that if there is there anyone who is already working in Python, by the way?
Yeah, sir. Like I have worked in past, like in Python.
Okay. So what is your view about Python? How difficult or how easy this language is?
I feel like Python is one of the most simplest language for from syntax point of view and also from the community point of view. If you want to do anything, there is
Right.
already so much community support going on. You can easily get things done.
Absolutely. So what you said is like I can try to put forward in minimal words. So Python is very closer to natural language, and when we say natural language, we are referring to English only, not referring to Hindi, Urdu, or Arabic or Sanskrit, right? So we are talking about the natural language, which is English. It has many English-like words in it. Okay. So if you have to print something on the screen, we have this print command. If you have to get something out of an array, You just simply needs to pop it out. Okay. So I'm assuming some of the audience that are actually in this forum are aware of the terms like array, variable. If not, then I'll try to explain. So in programming world, we have this these two keywords, constants and variables. So before I go into the details of constants and variables, I would rather, it's a very humble advice to all of you that don't go and think that keep on thinking that the keywords that are mentioned in programming are something really very as in fancy. Those are very simple English like words, and if your English is good, it is very easy to understand any programming language, and especially with Python. So what is a constant? What is constant in is your life constant today? Can I ask you, do you think your life is constant today, or is it facing the variable moods?
Can't say about life, sir, but in Python, constant means like they won't change their value or anything.
So no, I'm trying to help other audiences, since you are aware of Python and programming. That is why you are telling me about variables and all. What I'm trying to ask you here is, what is constant? What do we understand by the term constant?
Constant is something which remains fixed.
Which remains fixed, right? Absolutely. So in programming world also, there are certain values which remain fixed. For example, the value of pi, right? 22/7 or 3.14. It cannot change. These are mathematical terms, right? Whereas what is vary or variable? Anything that can change, right? So if I'm trying to put a value in a string, what is string? String is a value. It's a combination of characters. Characters like Shahenshah is a character or not. What is a character?
It's like a sentence or phrase in a programming language.
I'm sorry, I am actually going into the very basics of programming, but then string is a combination of characters. And in our real world, what are characters? Characters can be a letter, a alphabet, right? A number, a comma, a semicolon. Everything is covered in a character. And string is a combination of characters, right? So any value which will vary. So for example, you are filling a Google form, right? If you are filling a Google form, there are many applicants in it. Say, for example, Mr. Shahenshah, Mr. Hussain, Mr. Wasi, right? These are different names which will be covered under one single entity called name, right? So name could be a variable, right? Name can be a variable, and it can have different values which can vary. So that becomes a variable, right? So this is how we actually assign values in a programming language, right? So constants and variables. So these are the terms which are very close to natural language, right? So that is why Python is very close to natural language. It is an interpretive language. So what is interpretation? Interpretation is basically when I'm talking in Arabic, or if I'm talking in Latin, somebody has to interpret what I'm telling you, right? So similarly in computer, when I type something, right? When I type something, computer doesn't understand your English language. It understands binary language, right? So we need a translator in place. A translator interprets what you write. So it is an interpretive language. But in computer world, what does interpretive language means? That whatever line you are going to write or type on computer at this point of time, it will actually catch the errors or any spelling mistakes that you are doing then and there only, right? Whereas there are some other types of translators, like in C, there is a compiler. So you have to write the entire program, and then only it starts capturing the errors. So that is like a compiler. Whereas Python is an interpretive language. It actually tells you the errors then and there only. Why is it a high level programming language? Is because anything which is closer to the natural language becomes a high level programming language. All right. Right. And then at the start of my session, I told you that Python actually, if you want to write a code on capturing the moods while being on a video, or if you want to capture the emotions of an image, you don't have to write an extensive code. We have a lot of libraries which we call in a Python program, and it is hardly a matter of 10-20 lines of code that will help you achieve your goal. So the least code is written there. As Mr. Hussain mentioned, we have a very matured Python developer community, and Python is almost like 20-30 years old language. So we have a huge group of Python community developers who actually provide you support wherever you are stuck. So just Google it out on internet, and you will find out solution to your problems. So we have an extensive Python developer community there, right? It is versatile, efficient, reliable, and all. Most importantly, is it actually supports GPU acceleration. What is GPU acceleration? Anyone? So like CPU actually helps in processing your data. GPU further adds to the performance of a machine learning program. So if there are heavy calculations involved, heavy computing involved, you need to have a GPU in place on your machine so that your programming or your computing can become fast and efficient. So Python supports GPU acceleration also, right? It helps in doing analytics, and it has become an integral part of AI and ML family. And more importantly, just like IPL, right? Python is backed by a lot of corporates like Facebook, right? Google, Amazon. All these companies have certain utilities designed in Python. So it is that's the reason why it is popular, right? So can you guys see the heading of this particular slide? Because what I can see is all the Zoom controls. Can somebody please help me out?
Python for machine language.
Right, okay. So you can see that, all right. So when I was telling you that Python has an extensive library in it, so we have certain utilities or files available which helps in getting the outcome that is desired. So for example, we have this PyBrain. PyBrain actually helps in applications like chatbot, the intelligent chatbots that we develop, right? PyML actually helps in some vector programming. Do we know what is vector programming? Any? Scalars, vectors? Anyone from mathematics background? All right. So basically, heavy computation that is required, right? So vectors has, and somebody can correct me, I think it has this vertical and horizontal part available for computation, right? So all those heavy mathematical calculations can be served by PyML. Scikit-learning is very common library that we use in Python that is efficient in data analysis. And then things like signal processing. Signal processing, when I say signal processing, it's like all the IoT apps where in case of healthcare, right, we do have certain applications like which monitors your blood pressure, which actually monitors your heart rate, healthcare related problems. All those IoT devices can be actually taken care of this MDP toolkit. These are just some examples. It's a very, very extensive library. I cannot even finish that in a 8-hour session. Okay. So such is the scale at which we have these Python libraries available. Some common programs that we keep on getting out of Python are like sales predictor, handwriting reader. Yep. Any questions? Anyone? All right. Handwriting reader, stock price predictions, iris dataset. So why I'm trying to give you an example of all these is because sometimes we have a perception that I am from IT background. Okay. So how will Python help me? So believe me or not, there are people from who are chartered accountants, okay, who are from academic backgrounds, who come to me and ask me if they can do Python, and the answer is yes. You can definitely use Python in your whatever work that you are doing because the world is moving towards automation. And I don't know how much you guys read about IT technology. We are almost sitting in automation 5.0 kind of phase in the world. So people actually have divided all the technological advancements that we have seen since the industrial evolution or revolution. Okay. जब एक इंजन बना, ट्रेन का इंजन बना, उसके बाद हमने ट्यूनिंग थ्योरम बनाया, उसके बाद हमने अलग अलग चीजें बनाई. तो इन सबको they have actually divided into certain phases. 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and ultimately 5.0. So the world is actually sitting in almost between 4.0 and 5.0, whereas in India, we have hardly completed the version 2.0 right now. This is the industry trend. Okay. So there is a huge scope of automation in almost every area of work that we are doing in our day-to-day activities, right? So that is the reason I have mentioned these things in blue at the bottom, so that you will realize that Python is not restricted to IT only. Python is actually helpful in different areas, right? Then, of course, a very popular one, NLTK, natural language processing and text processing. Okay, so this is one area where there is an extensive work going on in Python. For example, there are still issues with NLP. I can quote an example. For example, we have this, if somebody is calling someone, roko mat jane do. Right? Roko mat jane do. And if I put comma after roko, what will it mean? The sentence will have a different meaning, that I wanted to stop someone, right? And I don't want him to let go. Whereas agar roko mat mein main mat ke baad comma laga dunga, so what will happen? Anyone?
That means don't stop.
Don't stop and let the person go, right? तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा हमारा अभी NLP इतना एडवांस नहीं हुआ है जहां पे वो चीजों को कॉमा, सेमीकोलन, इन सब चीजों को समझ सके, डिफरेंशिएट कर सके. उसके लिए there is a lot of work going on in OpenCV area. If you look at the bottom, OpenCV, what OpenCV does, it actually tries to trace your emotions. कंप्यूटर के थ्रू आपके इमोशंस को ट्रेस करता है कि आप खुश हैं, या आप नाराज हैं, आप किस सेंस में बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? तो इसलिए हमारा ये टेंसर फ्लो और ओपन सीवी, दे आर एक्चुअली वर्किंग इन टेंडम. एंड इफ यू लुक एट इट, न्यूरल नेटवर्क एक कॉन्सेप्ट है. न्यूरल क्या होता है? व्हाट इज न्यूरॉन? न्यूरॉन या न्यूरल, व्हाट इज न्यूरॉन? डॉक्टर्स होते हैं न्यूरोलॉजी के.
Like too much connected, like brain neurons.
हाँ, मतलब ब्रेन से रिलेटेड डॉक्टर्स होते हैं ना न्यूरोलॉजी के, राइट? तो as per the so this is the beautiful brain is a beautiful creation of God, right? And what happens is, अगर आप कभी हल्का सा पिंच करें अपनी खाल पे, you will realize the impact. आप जैसे ही नोचेंगे अपने स्किन को या पिंच करेंगे, what will happen? Your brain will feel the pain instantly, right? Instantly वो पेन क्यों करेगा? How will it happen? Because there are neurons under your skin, right? It actually, और ऐसा नहीं है कि एक न्यूरॉन ही होता है आपके ब्रेन से लेके स्किन तक. There are thousands and millions of neurons available inside your body, and it passes signals. आप you can imagine the speed कि मैंने पिंच स्किन में किया और मुझे पेन भी फील होने लगा, यानी इतनी जल्दी रिस्पॉन्स आया ब्रेन की तरफ से, राइट? सो वी वांटेड टू build application which works on the principle of neural networks, कि जैसे ब्रेन आपका काम करता है, राइट? और इसको हम कहते हैं कॉग्निटिव साइंस. अब ये कॉग्निटिव साइंस अगर मैं वर्ड बोलूंगा तो मुझे लगता है अगर मैं अपना कोर्स सेल करने की कोशिश करूंगा और ये कहूंगा कि आई एम टीचिंग यू कॉग्निटिव साइंस, तो प्रोबेबली यू विल पे इवन 1 लाख, 1.5 लाख, 2 लाख, you can pay anything. Cognitive science सीख रहे हैं. But what I am trying to explain here is cognitive science is a very, very simple concept of understanding the emotions of human, right? And that is the basis of artificial intelligence. Intelligence कैसे, जैसे इंसान सोचता है वैसे हम अपने सिस्टम को काम करवाना चाहते हैं, ठीक है? So that is artificial intelligence. Or to understand the emotion of human brain is known as cognition. अगर आप डिक्शनरी खोलेंगे, what do we mean by cognition? Cognition is understanding the human emotions. और अगर इसको scientifically define करूं मैं, what is cognitive science? So cognitive science is a science where we try to learn how the brain stem cells work, right? How the different processes of brain work. So that is cognitive science. ठीक है? अब मैं cognitive science कहूंगा तो आपको लगेगा कि मैं कुछ पढ़ा रहा हूं, और अगर मैं ये कहूंगा कि पाइथन के थ्रू मैं एक लाइब्रेरी उठा के कॉल कर दूंगा, अपना प्रोग्राम बना लूंगा, तो आपको लगेगा अरे ये क्या, ये तो 15-20 रुपए वाला डॉक्टर है, 550 वाला डॉक्टर या 1000 वाला डॉक्टर जो कॉग्निटिव साइंस बोल रहा है वो. So that this is where my session is the intent of my session today. I wanted to bridge those gaps, the gaps that are built through a very heavy terminologies, right? So cognitive science is nothing but understanding or make your computer understand or work like the human does. Any questions till now? Anyone? I'll address all those questions that are there in this chat window. Give me some time. Okay. And then there are, of course, and these are again all libraries of Python. IMA, what does IMA do? उसके लिए आपको रसल एंड नॉर्विक्स का आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस अप्रोच गूगल करना पड़ेगा. वो क्या करता है? पाई डेटा लॉग क्या होता है? सिंपल एआई क्या होता है? इजी एआई क्या होता है? और मैं अगर आपको थोड़ा और सिंपल करके बताने की कोशिश करूं, सो एआई और मशीन लर्निंग आर इंटर रिलेटेड. सबसे पहला डाउट मैं ये क्लियर कर दूं कि मशीन लर्निंग इज सबसेट ऑफ एआई. ठीक है? We try to make machine learn the way humans learn. and the mechanism to do that is AI और machine learning. और उसका टूल क्या है? उसका टूल है पाइथन. ठीक है. अगर आपको एक दीवार पे सीमेंट लगाना है, राइट, आपको एक मकान बनाना है, तो यू नीड सम सर्टेन टूल्स. उन टूल्स की जगह व्हाट वी आर यूजिंग पाइथन. ठीक है, पाइथन है. और उस पाइथन को कहां इंप्लीमेंट करना है, उसके देयर आर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर्स अवेलेबल इन द मार्केट. पॉपुलर वंस वो मैं लिस्ट डाउन कर दूंगा. जुपिटर है, स्पाइडर है, एंड सो ऑन. वो आप गूगल कर सकते हैं, एंड आई एम श्योर मोस्ट ऑफ यू हैव ऑलरेडी डन दैट. ठीक है. बट देन आई वांटेड टू टेल यू the level of AI going on these days, the research that is going on AI these days. So for example, there was a and I'm telling you this case study of 2012. Those are 12 की study बता रहा हूं मैं आपको. There was a complete paralyzed patient. Paralysis समझते हैं, लकवा. ठीक है, जब आपकी बॉडी बिल्कुल काम करना बंद कर देती है. अब ऐसा पेशेंट जिसका हाथ भी काम नहीं कर रहा, उसका सब कुछ सिवाय वो यहां तक पैरालिटिक है, राइट, इज कंप्लीटली बॉडी पैरालिसिस हो चुकी है. अब उसको नर्स को बुलाना है. व्हाट विल ही डू? वो जो घंटी दी हुई होती है, रिमोट दिए हुए होते हैं, उससे भी काम नहीं होगा. व्हाट विल ही डू? So somebody actually came up with the idea of blink eye. नीचे आप अगर इसमें देखेंगे, ब्लिंक आई एंड नोज पॉइंटर. लकीली उस आदमी का, अब आप ये मत पूछिएगा कि अगर उसकी आंखें ही हमेशा के लिए खुली हैं तो फिर प्रॉब्ली ही इज इन कोमा और समथिंग. बट एटलीस्ट उसका ब्लिंक, ही कैन और शी कैन ब्लिंक द आई. ठीक है. और उसका नोज पॉइंटर है. तो ये उन्होंने इस टेक्नोलॉजी को, फेस को रिकॉग्नाइज किया in terms of coordinates. And what that patient was able to do then, he used his nose pointer, right? Nose pointer ने mouse pointer का काम किया on the screen, and he was able to reach out to the option called help from nurse required. उस ऑप्शन पे गया, अपना नोज पॉइंटर वहां लेकर आया और 2 बार ब्लिंक करा जल्दी, एंड इट एक्चुअली सेंड द सिग्नल टू द नर्स दैट द पेशेंट रिक्वायर्स हर हेल्प. सो दिस इज वेयर द टेक्नोलॉजी इज गोइंग. ठीक है. स्टीव हॉकिंग्स, probably you all know. अगर नहीं जानते तो यानी आप बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ नहीं रहे हैं दुनिया के बारे में. स्टीव हॉकिंग इज अ वेरी वेरी आइडियल एग्जाम्पल ऑफ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. ठीक है. उसका आप गूगल पे सर्च कीजिएगा, क्या प्रॉब्लम है. ठीक है. तो these are some of the libraries that you can always use, and I am again telling you, my intent of this session is not to teach you Python, but I wanted to teach you what are the utilities of Python, where all you can use Python, and how can you use Python. You can use Python using certain libraries which I have listed here. ये सारी libraries हैं, आप कर सकते हैं. And Python is very easy. And then there are softwares like Jupyter, Spider and all. ठीक है. और अगर आप लोगों को इस पे ये ब्लिंक आई और नोज पॉइंटर पे किसी को काम करना हो तो यू कैन नोट डाउन एक डीप फेस करके लाइब्रेरी है. देयर इज अ लाइब्रेरी कॉल्ड डीप फेस दैट यू कैन कॉल इन योर प्रोग्राम्स एंड यू कैन स्टार्ट सर्चिंग कि कैसे ह्यूमन इमोशंस को कैप्चर किया जा सकता है. एंड कोई ट्रेड सीक्रेट बता रहा हूं, इट इज अवेलेबल ऑन गूगल, राइट. नाउ व्हाट आर द ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल अपार्ट फ्रॉम पाइथन. लेकिन उनके नुकसान क्या हैं या उनके फायदे क्या हैं. C++, right? C++. How many of you knows that Python was created in C++?
अरे अभी कुछ बोलना.
How many of you knows that Python was developed in C++?
भाई मेरा भी आवाज यार
Anyone
Hello.
trying to tell me? Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, Python is based on C and C++ concept. Initially, C was procedural language. Later on, they added classes. So, harnessing the power of C and C++, we have using Python.
So your voice is little low, but then I understand. I think you know that C++ developed Python.
Yeah.
But any specific reason why C++ is not preferred over Python?
Because C++ is middle level language and Python is high level language, and C is more nearer to machine. So it becomes more complex. Though it is compile time is less, but it's more complex for human interface. Python is more nearer to the complexity, and human can work easily. It's like English syntax. Maybe
Absolutely.
that's the reason.
So the interpretation or the translation part is the key, is the basic difference between C++ and Python.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You can compile your program quickly in C++, whereas in Python it may take some time because of the interpretation part.
Interpretation, yeah. So,
right?
Yeah.
Then before Python, we had this Lisp language.
Yes.
If you remember, I don't know how many of you have done AI in as a subject in your academics, but kuch saal pehle it was Lisp only that was taught as a language, right? So Lisp was the language that was used as an alternative for AI.
You were talking about Serato Lisp, right?
Sorry, your language. Oh, sorry, your voice is very low. It's very difficult to understand what you're
talking about. Auto Lisp, right, sir?
Yeah, the Lisp language. Right. So Lisp was basically having certain features that are listed there. Right. So the prototypes that and do we know what is a prototype?
To make a raw program or something.
So before coming up with the complete product, we try to prepare a very small dummy.
You can say a blueprint.
A blueprint, absolutely. So we try to prepare a blueprint, right? And that blueprint was very easy to prepare in Lisp. Okay. So that is where Lisp had an edge over Python. But then when we compare to the kind of libraries that we have in Python, so again, the Python had an edge over Lisp. And then we tried to have our hands on Java, but Java was not up to the mark in the sense that, again, the libraries that are available in Java doesn't stand as in what Python has at this point of time today. Right. So, but then Java, the Sun Java, the company, which is responsible for Java products and all, they are actually coming up with certain libraries, which they are trying to compete with Python so that they can actually, at least Java developers don't feel shy away while playing up with the programs which requires AI or ML, right? So Java is also coming up, but at this point of time, we have this Python as the number one alternative, or the option rather, for working on the AI part. Then we have this Python, Iron Python. So anyone who is familiar with .NET can actually try their hands in Iron Python. Anyone who is familiar with Java can use Jython. Anyone who is good at C can actually try their hands on Python. Then there is Ruby. And Google already has this Go language where they are actually trying to integrate it actually, in fact, while developing Kubernetes. So anyone who knows Kubernetes, what is Kubernetes? Is it a cloud or what?
Kubernetes is like kind of Docker kind of facility. Your container is like a container.
Yeah, containerization, right? So the containerization concept of so just for those who doesn't know the difference between Kubernetes and cloud. So cloud is a concept, whereas Kubernetes is a software, right?
It's used in DevOps, I guess, right?
Yeah, it is used in DevOps and all. Not only in DevOps. Basically, it is used for deployment of softwares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, it helps you out in what we call as deployments, right? And you can do deployment and make the maximum use of cloud using Kubernetes, right? So Google actually built Kubernetes using the language Go. Okay, so these are some of the alternatives available for Python. So I will try to stop here because if I look at the time, it is already 11:50. So quickly, okay, one more important part I wanted to touch here is the data science. Okay, so some people feel that they doesn't belong to what is happening today in IT, because data science is something which is completely out of it is something of a different level. So I wanted to clarify the doubt that you can, even as a .NET programmer, even as a ETL developer, even as a Excel developer, you can still be part of the data science. So data science as a whole is just a concept. Okay. Don't feel shy giving interviews or working in a data science company. You can always contribute, because the steps involved in data science, if I'll quickly look at it, we define objectives, we try to collect data, we try to prepare data, right? Collecting data, यहाँ पे किसका काम आएगा? Collecting data यानी you need to ingest data from somewhere. तो अब यहाँ पे data developers काम आएंगे, यानी ETL developers काम आएंगे, right? So it doesn't mean that you are nothing now. You have a very important role to play, क्योंकि data science का base ही data है. ठीक है, अगर आप डेटा ही नहीं लेकर आएंगे तो फिर क्या डेटा साइंस करेंगे, right? So ETL developer has a equally important role to play in data science. Okay, then we have these data engineers, quality engineers. जब तक मैं डेटा को अपने हिसाब से रिफाइन नहीं करूंगा, right? अपनी नीड के हिसाब से बनाऊंगा नहीं, तब तक मैं डेटा साइंस नहीं कर सकता, मैं कोई एनालिटिक्स नहीं कर सकता, राइट? तो यहाँ पे इंजीनियर, क्वालिटी इंजीनियर्स का भी रोल आता है. Once you compile the data as per your need and try to train your model, यहाँ पे you start playing the role of developing the data, and this role can be played by statisticians, data scientists. यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा आपका ये एक एरिया है जहां पे आपको प्रोबेबली पाइथन आना इंपॉर्टेंट है, ठीक है, या आपको थोड़ा बहुत स्टैटिस्टिक्स की नॉलेज होना इंपॉर्टेंट है, राइट? या फिर जैसे अज्योर की दुनिया में वी हैव दीज libraries available or APIs available where you can do NLP, तो वो वाला रोल यहाँ पे आपका important हो जाता है. So statisticians, data scientists can play a role at this particular stage, right? And then you start training the model. ठीक है? Again, data scientist role becomes important here, right? Once the model is created, we need analysts. So if you look at it, एक बहुत specific portion है जहां पे specifically data scientist चाहिए, या ML या Python के programmers चाहिए, right? एक बहुत छोटा portion. उसके बाद once you publish your model या deploy your model, what will happen? You may have to make the data publish on a certain website or in a reporting tool जहां पे visualization काम में आ जाता है, तो यहाँ पे आपका फिर दोबारा डेवलपर्स का रोल आ गया, या वो लोग जो बीआई पावर बीआई पे काम करते हैं या एसएसआरएस पे काम करते हैं, जो विजुअलाइजेशन टूल पे काम करते हैं, राइट? तो उनका रोल आ गया. You are still not out of the trade, right? You still have a role to play. Then you have to do monitoring. Then you have to fix the problems. Software engineers का role आ गया. If there is a bug in the model, architects will revisit the model, right? So if you are an architect, then you have a very important role to play in data science. And then at the end of the day, वो data science का model जो आपने बनाया, वो किसी वजह से बनाया, कंपनी को आप उसकी प्रोग्रेस दिखाने के लिए बनाया, ठीक है? कंपनी कैसा काम कर रही है, कंपनी में क्या कमियां हैं, वो आप किसको दिखाएंगे? एट द एंड ऑफ द डे सीईओज, स्ट्रेटेजिस्ट वगैरह वगैरह, डायरेक्टर्स, ये सब देखेंगे. सो डेटा साइंस एज अ होल, इट डजंट मीन कि आपके जॉब्स जा रहे हैं. यू आर स्टिल रेलेवेंट इन द ट्रेड. So this is what this slide is trying to tell you, okay? And then एक ये होता है कि मैं Excel में भी तो करता हूँ analysis. Excel में definitely कर सकते हैं, but then there are limitation of data, right? Limitation of working on unstructured data. Unstructured data क्या है? कि जिसकी कोई consistency नहीं है. कभी characters आ गए, कभी numbers आ गए, कभी कुछ हो गया. Right? So that is unstructured data. You have a limitation in Excel. And interestingly, Python has an option to play around in Excel itself. एक open Excel करके, Pixel करके एक हमारी library है that actually helps you play or dig out in Excel itself. Right? You can plot 2D graphs within Python using Excel. उसके बाद scientific calculations के लिए you can do n number of things using Python. So I'll try to stop here in the interest of time. अगर ये कुछ आपको समझ में आई बात, तो you can definitely ask some questions, और उसके out of context भी आप सवाल पूछ सकते हैं. That is the intent of this session. Obviously, एक घंटे में मैं आपको सब कुछ नहीं बता सकता, but it was an attempt where I was trying to show what are the different utilities of Python, and I am trying to make you normalize के ऐसा नहीं है कि आप बड़ी-बड़ी terms सुन रहे हैं तो उससे घबराना आपको, ठीक है? You don't have to feel the pressure of all these heavy terms, right? So maybe I can open the forum, and Mr. Iqbal Ali has raised the hand, so. Yep, go ahead, sir.
Sir, thank you very much for giving your precious time. It was very valuable session, and I learned a lot from you. I was wondering if I can know where we can apply NLP. You must be aware about natural language processing where we are dealing with text, right? Mm-hmm. So I used to wonder whether we can apply it on Quran, because we have a great data set. We always looking for a data. As we say, data is a new oil. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, has given a great data set where the possibility of finding great things or research is enormous. So can we apply NLP on Quran? Even there is this site, Quran Morphology. Some Danish rivers, they are working on Quran using NLP. So I can share the link with you. And I want to know your thoughts, like how we can, whether we can apply NLP or what are the possibilities?
See, what NLP requires or what data science requires is data. If your data is persistent and if it is consistent, you can definitely play NLP on top of that.
Okay. So you mean like after normalizing over data, doing the data wrangling over
normalizing,
data. Cleansing, yeah.
Right? So once you are done with that, you can definitely apply anything on top of that data.
Okay. So I joined it lately. So may I know, like, sir, whether you are working somewhere as a data scientist? Are you in India or somewhere else?
No, I'm very much in India, and I work in Optum Global Solutions. Okay, and I am just trying to help my friend here, the owners of MPowerUrge.
Yeah, that's great, sir. Because being Jamiite, it's a great thing. You are giving this kind of section freely, and I hope like you will help us in future for guidance.
Sure, inshallah.
Thank you.
All right. So there was a chat question also, I believe. I am qualified MSW. Age is running. Age never runs. सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको बता दूं, age never runs. Age तो अपने हिसाब से चल रही है, ठीक है? So, and there is no age for learning. It's just that कि हमारा mind जो है वो इस तरह से बना हुआ है कि we say कि अब मैं बुढ़ा हो रहा हूँ, अब मैं भूल रहा हूँ चीजें. हम भूलते नहीं, हमारी priorities change होती हैं. I agree with Alzheimer's disease, जहाँ पे बिल्कुल ही आदमी खत्म हो जाता है. बट देन नॉर्मली ये मेरा अपना ऑब्जर्वेशन है कि जहां लोगों की प्रायोरिटीज चेंज हो जाती हैं और वो भूलना शुरू कर देते हैं. भूलना नहीं, एक्चुअली इग्नोर कर देते हैं छोटी छोटी माइन्यूट डिटेल्स. इफ यू आर फोकस्ड टू लर्न पाइथन, there is no age for it. I am learning. I tell you, I was actually working on a program yesterday to understand the emotions of someone, right? So someone nahi, in fact human face only. So that program actually ran for 12 hours and 20 minutes. ठीक है? And it was actually cleansing all the data. और उसके बाद वो प्रोग्राम रन करना था. Unfortunately, I was trying to show that program to you, जहाँ पे image का वो इमेज देख के बता रहा था कि whether the person is happy or sad or whatever. वो प्रोग्राम बता रहा था, ठीक है? बट देन वो जुपिटर मेरा क्रैश कर गया. सो आई एम सॉरी अबाउट दैट. मेरा पूरा
सेंटिमेंट एनालिसिस कर रहे होंगे आप.
या सेंटिमेंट एनालिसिस, राइट, एग्जैक्टली.
सर मैं एक क्वेश्चन और पूछना चाह रहा था कि जो मशीन लर्निंग है इसमें हमारा जो टाइप्स रहते हैं, सुपरवाइज, अनसुपरवाइज और जो है आपका रीइंफोर्समेंट, तो इसमें हम इसकी मतलब बहुत सारी इसकी पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं ओपन सीवी और मशीन लर्निंग की. इसमें हम इसमें रिसर्च एरिया में कहाँ अप्लाई कर सकते हैं? जैसे जो काम ऑलरेडी हो चुका है, जैसे 3 लॉज ऑफ मोशन है या आपका थ्योरी ऑफ रिलेटिविटी पे, उसको हम अप्लाई कर सकते हैं क्योंकि हमारे पास वैसी लैब्स तो है नहीं. यूरोप में जो फैसिलिटी है, तो एक टूल है हमारे पास मशीन लर्निंग, जिससे हम मतलब ऐसे काम कर सकते हैं जो ह्यूमन ब्रेन मतलब पॉसिबल नहीं है करना, पाइथन लाइब्रेरीज के जरिए.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम इकबाल भाई, फारूक भाई. इकबाल भाई मेरे सीनियर हैं. और आप डेटा साइंस पे काम माशाल्लाह बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, इसलिए सर लगातार वो सवाल पूछ रहे हैं. दानिश भाई भी हमारे साथ हैं.
नो प्रॉब्लम, एटलीस्ट दिस इज इंटरैक्टिव सेशन नाउ.
जी, दानिश भाई भी हमारे साथ हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि दानिश भाई भी थोड़ा सा अगर अपनी बात रखें तो बेहतर होगा.
गो अहेड प्लीज.
दानिश भाई.
हेलो सर, सॉरी मैं लेट हो गया थोड़ा सा.
जी सर, मैं देख रहा था कि आप लेट आए, इसलिए मैंने डिस्टर्ब नहीं किया.
वो मेरा थोड़ा सा वो सिस्टम ऑन नहीं होता, तो अभी मुझे पता नहीं है. अभी मैं कुछ देर में ही ज्वाइन हो पाऊंगा, कनेक्ट नहीं हो पा रहा हूँ अभी.
नो प्रॉब्लम. अगर कोई सवाल के जवाब हो तो आप दे सकते हैं.
जी.
इकबाल भाई काफी सवाल कर रहे हैं, हमने सोचा कि दानिश भाई.
नहीं, मैं परेशान नहीं हो रहा इकबाल भाई से. वेरी गुड क्वेश्चंस, सो आई डोंट हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम. इकबाल भाई, यू कैन कंटिन्यू.
जी इकबाल भाई प्लीज कंटिन्यू.
ओके, थैंक यू सर. तो सर मैं ये पूछ रहा था कि मतलब जो काम जैसे मैथमेटिक्स में हम देखते हैं कि मैथमेटिक्स और साइंस में ले लीजिए आप, यूरो भरा पड़ा है, थोड़ा डिसअपॉइंटमेंट भी होता है हमारा. अगर हम देखें हमारे एंसेस्टर्स ने बहुत काम किया है अल्फारिथमी वगैरह में, लेकिन मतलब उसका कोई एविडेंस नहीं है. तो मैं ये सोच रहा था कि हम लोग मतलब हमारे पास जैसे स्विट्जरलैंड में या जनेवा में, जर्मनी में जो फैसिलिटीज है, लैब फैसिलिटी, वो तो है नहीं. लेकिन अगर हमारे पास एक अच्छा सिस्टम है और हमें इसकी डेटा साइंस की नॉलेज है, मशीन लर्निंग की और आपका जो है ओपन सीवी की, तो इसको हम अप्लाई करके क्या कुछ कर सकते हैं रिसर्च वगैरह इसमें, अभी मतलब नई फाइंडिंग्स कर सकते हैं?
व्हाई नॉट? मतलब ये तो इसका पर्पस ही है ना. वी कैन डेफिनेटली डू.
हाँ, जैसे अभी रियल लाइफ में प्रॉब्लम आपकी आती है कि भाई इमेज रिकॉग्निशन है या कोई टेक्स्ट रिकॉग्निशन है,
जैसे मैंने आपको एक एग्जांपल दिया, आई डोंट नो वेदर यू वर देयर एट द टाइम.
जी
सो देयर इज अ सेंटेंस, रोको मत जाने दो,
जी जी
राइट?
जी
सो नाउ व्हाट इज द मेजर प्रॉब्लम हियर इन एनएलपी? मैं रोको के बाद कॉमा लगाना चाहता हूँ या रोको मत के बाद कॉमा लगाना चाहता हूँ?
हम्म,
बिल्कुल सेंस बदल जाती है, राइट?
जी जी बिल्कुल बदल दिया
रोको या
मत
रोको मत, ठीक है? नाउ इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन योर फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन,
जी
ठीक है? तो फिर यहाँ पे वी नीड टू कंबाइन दीज टू थिंग्स. ओपन सीवी जहां पे कंप्यूटर रिकॉग्निशन आ जाएगी, कंप्यूटर विजन आ जाएगा, राइट? which we have to inculcate with this thing, text processing, ठीक है? So we can definitely make these changes and work on as in whatever you ऐसा देखिए, it's an ongoing process. You cannot achieve what you are trying to achieve within a year or 2 or 3. It's a exercise. Better the data you'll bring, the better the results will be. And more importantly, your problem statement should be very clear.
Hypothesis.
Right? तो जो हमारा heuristics का concept है, heuristics में हम क्या करते हैं? It's the learning by experience.